When the Phone Rings episode 11-12 recap and ending explained, is Se-Eon dead? With only one episode remaining in When the Phone Rings, one might expect a conclusion devoid of cliffhangers or, at the very least, a clear understanding of the impending events. However, this K-drama continues to deliver unexpected twists and turns. The narrative leaves no room for contemplation as it introduces unforeseen developments, leaving viewers astonished. Episode 10 revealed that Hee-Joo drove off a cliff with the kidnapper in the back seat. After 2 days of searching, Se-Eon, who is revealed to be an imposter, announces to the public that he is not Paik Sa-Eon and that his wife, Hee-Joo, is missing. He appeals to the public for assistance in finding her. Notably, this episode did not portray the public prosecution of the Paik family in detail, only featuring brief snippets of press coverage, which diminished the dramatic impact. Without further ado, let us delve directly into the episode's events. Why is Se-Eon's mum arrested? Episode 11 commences with Se-Eon contemplating a hypothetical scenario. If he had expressed his love for Hee-Joo and his desire to reconcile their marriage, would the outcome have been different? Instead, he chose to distance himself from her, mistakenly believing that this would ensure her safety, rather than revealing his contentment in their marriage. Subsequently, Hee-Joo professed her love for Se-Eon and drove off a cliff. Se-Eon attempted to locate her but reached a dead end. He then received a call from the police and, upon arriving at their location, discovered that the car had gone off the cliff, necessitating a search. Hee-Joo's parents arrived, and her mother appeared genuinely shocked. While it is true that she often behaved excessively and compelled Hee-Joo to undertake numerous unnecessary activities, her intentions were ultimately for Hee-Joo's benefit. In this episode, her love for Hee-Joo is finally evident. However, Se-Eon realizes that there is a missing piece of the puzzle. His mother was absent from the scene and was also not present during the fire at the funeral. This leads him to believe that she was collaborating with the kidnapper. Se-Eon quickly connects the dots and immediately drives to meet his mother, who is technically his stepmother or sister-in-law. Se-Eon directly questions her about her absence from the scene of her biological son's death at the cliff. She explains that 20 years prior, she had already endured immense suffering. She had cried and ran barefoot to see if the body found was her son's, but the uncertainty of whether he was alive or dead was the most agonizing part. Meanwhile, Wayuri, Sang-woo, and Hee-Joo's colleagues prepare to search for Hee-Joo. Sang-woo informs Wayuri that Hee-Joo can speak, and Wayuri promises to scold Hee-Joo for deceiving her, indicating a strong fondness for her. Se-Eon, liaising with the lead detective, discovers that while a search warrant was unattainable, an arrest warrant could be procured. This warrant targets his mother, and the crux of the evidence lies in Grandpa Paik's dragon ring, previously investigated by Sang-woo. Se-Eon, having received the ring from his grandfather days before his death, surreptitiously attached a camera to it and returned it. This foresight, initially intended as a safeguard, now serves as the instrument to rescue his wife. The recorded footage reveals Grandpa Paik confessing his paternity of the imposter Se-Eon to his daughter-in-law. Overwhelmed by resentment and the injustice of raising his child while witnessing him usurp her rightful role as a mother, she suffocated him with a pillow. Armed with this evidence, Se-Eon secures his mother's arrest, coinciding with his father's press conference lamenting the loss of their child and the subsequent replacement to assuage their grief. Simultaneously, Doo-jae issues a statement regarding the true Se-Eon, recounting their initial encounter during Se-Eon's attempted office break-in. His ensuing surveillance, under the mistaken belief of Se-Eon's victimhood, tragically reveals Se-Eon's culpability. Where are Hee-Joo and the kidnapper? The detective permits Se-Eon to question his stepmother, potentially due to Se-Eon's eagerness to locate his wife and his status as the presidential candidate's son. Se-Eon's mother instructed her assistant to locate the car containing her son and Hee-Joo and transport them to the old house. Fake Se-Eon is aware that Hee-Joo has been kept alive to inflict suffering upon him, mirroring her own experience of uncertainty regarding her son's life or death. Hee-Joo, recognizing this, chooses to starve herself while in captivity. The mother's assistant, who has previously assisted Hee-Joo, has been instructed to kill her if his boss is harmed. However, he switches allegiances and advises Hee-Joo to escape while he detains Se-Eon, as his mother has already been apprehended. Se-Eon's father arrives and demands that he open the door, brandishing a gun. The assistant hesitates but complies, resulting in a grave error. Se-Eon, fueled by anger and resentment towards his father, overpowers him. Ultimately, this situation exemplifies the consequences of sins of the father. While the two men struggle over the shotgun, Hee-Joo attempts to escape. Weakened by hunger and lack of sustenance, she collapses accidentally down the roadside after hearing a gunshot. A second gunshot awakens her. It's possible that Se-Eon's father has been hit, but this remains unconfirmed. Meanwhile, Se-Eon and the police are driving at full speed towards Hee-Joo's presumed location. Despite overhearing the kidnapper whistling, Hee-Joo makes a run for it. Fortunately, the man impersonating Se-Eon arrives just in time to rescue her. Overjoyed, she embraces him. The ordeal is not over yet. As the police stay back to apprehend the armed kidnapper, the impersonator drives away with Hee-Joo but is blocked by the kidnapper. The impersonator exits the vehicle and tries to reason with the kidnapper, which proves futile. What does the kidnapper whisper in Se-Eon's ear? The most significant mystery at the conclusion of episode 11 is the kidnapper's message to Se-Eon, which caused him such distress. One plausible theory is that it may be connected to the accident that resulted in the death of Hee-Joo's brother. Perhaps the accident was intended to kill the imposter Se-Eon. All the other details about the kidnapper are already known, specifically that his father was Grandpa Paik. Therefore, he likely knows that his father was the reason Hee-Joo was mute for her entire life. It is uncertain if this connection is too difficult to discern. The anticipation for the final episode of When the Phone Rings is considerable. In the final moments of episode 11, the sound of a gunshot is heard, followed by a close-up shot of Hee-Joo's shocked expression. It is my firm belief that her husband is still alive. This scene is likely intended to evoke distress in the audience, similar to the suffering experienced by Se-Eon's mother. If the initial theory is correct, the imposter Se-Eon has departed the country to distance himself from Hee-Joo, believing that he has caused her harm and that this separation will benefit her. What happens in the epilogue? The epilogue commences with a reflection of the episode's initial scene, but from Hee-Joo's viewpoint. She regrets not expressing her affection for him, which began the day he carried her on his back after she injured her knee as a child. She contemplates the possibility of them preparing Christmas dinner together had she confessed her feelings. Instead, she waits alone, yearning for a miraculous phone call. In the concluding moments of the epilogue, Hee-Joo receives an international call and inquires if her husband is on the other end. The answer remains undisclosed. It is reasonable to assume it is him. The narrative seems to be reaching its conclusion.